Lon Milo DuQuette, an esteemed occultist writer. Yeah, perhaps. Can you hear me all right, Mr. DuQuette?
And it's another rendition of the Lone Wolf Show, and I have my lovely guest.
Yes, I can. Play some more.
I've actually seen that you also are a musician. Is that correct?
Yes, I have pretenses to that effect. Yes.
So pretenses to that effect, and because I've actually heard some of your music, unless that's your clone. But where can we find your music? Actually, you know what? I think I listened to it on Reverb Nation. So
Reverb Nation is the easiest way to hear pretty much my whole catalog of things for free. Mm-hmm. But I'm on, I hate to say it, Spotify and all of those other things. And, you can find me usually where music is sold.
Spotify is not bad. So how long have you been, performing music? Because I've seen you play the guitar.
60 years.
Wow.
Well, since I was 14.
Right, 14.
Yeah.
That's a good stretch. How about inspiration wise? People that have inspired you from in your youth, perhaps for your musical endeavors.
Yeah. I was always. I always considered music as a vehicle for sort of philosophical or social awareness type things. So I sort of came to age and started professionally working when I was 14. Mm-hmm. And so I was coming to age in the mid 60s. So my heroes were the socially conscious folk singers, Pete Seeger, Woody Guthrie, Bob Dylan. And then that evolved into folk rock, So I like that kind of stuff. But I always wasn't so much involved in cover bands or anything like that. I always wrote my own music or in partnership with others. So when I got signed with Epic Records in 1969, so it was just recording our own music, so.
Mm-hmm. So do you remember the first song that you actually wrote yourself or composed?
No.
You don't. Okay. Do you have a most memorable song?
Well, let's see. I don't know. I think there is early songs I wrote with Charlie D were sort of psychedelic, acidy things. There was T-Winkle Park and crazy things like this, Mr. Muggles. Mm-hmm. And that was before Muggles was a term for non-witches.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's taken from the Harry Potter series, ain't it?
Muggles is from Harry Potter, but Muggles was the old 1920s and 30s word for marijuana.
Oh wow, that I did not know.
Well, you're welcome.
Right. So is as far as songwriting goes, is there? Okay, let me ask it this way: when you create music on your guitar or any other instrument, and when you write the lyrics to these said songs, do you think that when you perform them, it is an aspect? Could you call that act in itself magic?
Yes.
Yes. And why do you? Okay, why would that act be magical?
Well, everything is magic. Every act, every willed act is magic, but most especially acts or events that cause change in consciousness. And so when you write a poem or a song or a book or anything else, you're directly in a very direct but invisible way affecting the consciousness of someone else. And you don't get any more magical than changing consciousness.
Mm-hmm. So music. So what you're saying is music has the capability to give someone alternative states of consciousness.
Well, sure. Even our conversation is changing consciousness, both between us and whoever is listening. So it's already doing that. You can't avoid it. So if a chance conversation can cause great changes in, say, socio-political environment, imagine how much a fixed or a concentrated will or an act. If a chance thought can create a great change, what cannot a fixed thought do? So in a sense, magic is just causing any kind of change to occur in conformity with will. And most of the time we're not in touch with what the hell our will is, and so we're just causing change to occur in non-conformity to our will, and just bounce through life as a hit and miss affair.
Mr. DuQuette, are you familiar with Aleister Crowley?
Well, he's dead. How much can I? I'm pretty familiar with his work. Yes.
Are you familiar with one of his books called The Book of the Law?
Yes.
Concerning the Book of the Law, that particular text, do you think that particular text was aimed at the age of Aquarius that we're living in right now?
Not as such. It was a document that gave voice to what is what it itself refers to as the age of Horus. So astrological ages are a bit different than magical ages. Where the confusion comes in, it's coincidental that astrological ages, which the debate is about 2,100 years, as the precession of the equinoxes makes the sun appear to sort of travel backwards through the signs of the zodiac, about one full sign about every 2,100 years. So astrological ages are just ticks on the clock. Okay, it's like a machine, it's just measuring ticks on a clock. And the astrological ages have, at least we can meditate upon them and observe in the consciousness of humanity as a whole as we pass through these various ages. The characteristics that have over the years been traditionally applied to the signs of the zodiac. So when you say age of Aquarius, let's just say the age of Aquarius probably kicked in around the turn of the 20th century. Maybe a little earlier, maybe a little later. I don't know. I'm not an astrologer. I'm a songwriter.
You're a songwriter, and also, you're a songwriter, and in opinion, you're also an esteemed occultist. In opinion.
Well, be that as it may, let's say it happened around the turn of the 20th century. So the sun appears to be, or behind the sun at the equinoxes, the idea is that the Aquarius is filtering through the sun, and the sun is shining on us. So we're feeling the exoteric, the outward, everyday consciousness. We're feeling the exoteric effects of the sign of Aquarius filtered through the sun. But right behind us, 180 degrees away, Leo is blasting us in the behind full force. Okay. So these astrological ages, we're actually shish kebabbed on the pole of one sign of the zodiac and its opposite sign. So in a sense, we're also in the age of Leo, and the effects of the full force of the sign of the zodiac right behind us affects us on a spiritual or more esoteric way, like in the sign of Taurus. Mm-hmm. The Egypt was at its zenith, okay, and the people, the exoteric worship was that of the bull of Apis. Mm-hmm. So that was, this. There's Taurus. Then there's the sun filtering the Taurian thing at us. But right behind us was Scorpio. And even though the priests of Egypt were leading the bull in all the public worship ceremonies, they had the Urius serpent, a Scorpio. The esoteric magic, if you will, of Egypt was more hardcore Scorpio in nature. Am I making any sense here at all?
Well, it certainly makes sense when with the Kundalini almost with the serpent, perhaps.
Right, yeah.
I mean, okay. that definitely makes sense.
So in a sense, now that the sun's in Aquarius, we're getting a straight shot of Leo, and mm-hmm. this is where we start to have a glimpse of understanding what Crowley was talking about when he talked about the beast, mm-hmm. and what John was talking about in the book of the Revelation with the beast. Okay, because it's a Leo thing that's happening. But the magical age is different than the astrological ages. Magical ages are directly relative to the general level of consciousness of humanity as a whole. And so a magical age could be of any length. It just kind of happens that the current magical age more or less started about the same time as this astrological tick on the clock of the age of Aquarius. Mm-hmm. And the magical ages have everything to do with humanity's as a whole, humanity's self-identity, or a level of awakeness. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so the Book of the Law, it's not a textbook. It's like a channeled poem, a 3-part channeled prose poem thing. Mm-hmm. You don't read it like a text, and you don't interpret it for anybody else. But the idea of humanity as a whole waking up along an evolutionary path more or less dictates the formula of worship of every age. And if we would go back, well, Crowley's at least suggested in his way of trying to explain this, that within human memory, there's been 3 major ages like this. Mm-hmm. And 2 ages ago, and he gave the title just for convenience sake, not because there's connected to Egyptian culture or anything like that, but for convenience sake, he labeled the age of Isis. That's 2 ages ago. The age of Osiris, which was last age, and the age of Horus, their son. Okay, so it's mother, father, then the child. Mm-hmm. And the age of Isis was a period of human consciousness where we actually did not have a 9-month attention span. We did not know where babies actually came from. We couldn't put 2 and 2 together there. And we weren't so much worried about anything but what was going to fill our stomachs in the next hour or 2. And so we observed that life, other human beings, life came directly out of a woman. Mm-hmm. Okay. It blew everybody's mind. My God, she's God, because not only that, but in tune with the cycles of the moon, she bled. Okay. When me and my manly men go out to hunt, okay, we get gored by a boar or something, and we bleed and we freaking die. But the woman bleeds every month, and she doesn't die. Okay. Not only that, but when she stops bleeding, she swells up for 9 of those moon cycles, and all of a sudden she just pops, and out comes, in blood and water, out comes a little Og, another little caveman or cave woman just comes popping out of her. I mean, what's more godlike than somebody that can create another living human being, seemingly all by herself? Mm-hmm. And we also thought that other nourishment, the plants, the animals that we ate, come directly out of the earth. The earth provides that to us. So the formula of worship was the woman and the earth. And all magical and religious and spiritual behavior and observances were based around this wonderful, miraculous goddess worship. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
After a while, we figure out where babies come from. Not only that, we start to wake up a little and become conscious of our self-identity on this plane of existence. And we realize that, in the wintertime, when the daylight is very short, the plants don't grow, the animals don't come. Not only that, but if the woman doesn't have some kind of recreational behavior with a man, she's not going to stop bleeding. She's not going to. And so we put two and two together that without the penetrating rays of the sun in the ground, the plants won't go. And without the penetrating relationship of the man, the woman will remain barren. So the next age was, okay, this is a partnership situation between the sun and the earth, between the man and the woman. And all of a sudden, fatherness becomes a factor.
Yep.
And just because we're crazy humans, when that pendulum started to swing back, it swung back in a terrible, oppressive manner, and the entire patriarchy thing took over with a vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
But and that was a little bit better perception of reality. Okay. Just a little bit better, but it was enough for another age. And all of a sudden, the Father God became such an important thing. Mm-hmm. Okay. And it reflected in politics, in armies, in culture. And the woman got herself subjugated under that patriarchal bullshit. Mm-hmm. Not only that, but along with that came the destruction of the innocence of our self-identity. Because once we started to identify with that father's son, the sun that goes down every night, it dies. And who knows if it's coming back up in the morning. And it teeters toward the south. When we're in the northern hemisphere, it teeters toward the south at the wintertime. Who knows? It may just keep going south, and it'll be like Game of Thrones. It'll be like the long night, and so it freaks us out. And so we became obsessed with death. And we became obsessed with the formula that we do observe. The sun does come up, but only because it dies. And the plant does grow up, form a seed, and the plant dies, but the seed falls dead in the ground, and the seed comes back to life. So they figured out, the magical religious formula is now life comes from death. So as long as we keep killing stuff, we please the God by killing stuff for the God. So that led into an entire mindset of sacrifice.
Baal?
Everybody. Mm-hmm. Christ.
Mm-hmm. Right, gotcha.
Osiris, okay? Mm-hmm. Especially Osiris.
Risen and slain, right.
Yeah, is the perfect allegory for this whole thing. And it's just, all you have to do is change the guy's underwear and to go from Osiris to Jesus.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And so that was the age of Osiris. And that's the age that ended around the turn of the century. And it ended around the turn of the century, not because of any religious movement or any prophet got a revelation or anything else. but because it finally sunk in to enough of humanity that the sun does not die, that the sun stays on all the time. And so we don't identify with the dying sun. We don't identify with the earth so much, okay? We tinker just a little bit with a little bit better perception of reality. The sun stays on all the time. We stay on all the time. Mm-hmm. There's never been, if we're conscious now, consciousness is continual. You don't have to ooga booga. You don't have to bargain with God, okay, to live after you die. No, you're on all the time. Death is as much as an illusion as the fact that we are in our own shadow at night. And that the sun stays on all the time. We're now identifying with the sun. And that sun, that consciousness, that deep down inside, even though we think we die, we know deep down inside the sun stays on all the time. And so we know deep down inside that we stay on all the time. And the more we wake up to that fact, the more in tune we are with who we are. Mm-hmm. So that's the age of Horus. And that's as fast as I can explain that.
Right. And that's a great perspective, one that I've probably never heard. So you would suggest that we are in the age of Horus as of now. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, I can't say for sure we haven't already moved out of the age of Horus. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, because it's kind of complicated, and everything is complicated by the fact that time as we know it doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. With consciousness. Take time out of the equation, and then all of our conversation, we just may as well go to the bar and just order another round. Mm-hmm. The adherents, the people that finally get themselves in tune with the formula of the age, mm-hmm. more or less manifest the formula in their life, okay? But the masters of an age, it's their job to usher in the coming age. Okay. I'm going to use an example. It's probably a very inaccurate example. In the age of Osiris, mm-hmm. and let's say the right smack dab in the middle of the age of Osiris, the whole formula of what the original purity of what the message of early Christianity was, had degenerated, had decayed, had crystallized into the nightmare of the Crusades, let's say, which is just a freaking nightmare. It turned that original message on its head.
Senseless blood. Yep, I agree.
Yeah. Prince of Peace, kill everybody that's not us, Yeah. And kill us that's not us enough,
Wow.
But so the Crusaders, let's say, were manifesting the formula of that age of Osiris. Mm-hmm. Okay. but they're little things, they're little bright spots, okay, coming out of that crusade, coming home to Assisi with blood on his hands was St. Francis, okay? And St. Francis got illuminated through that formula. And St. Francis's whole thing was, oh, no, we're doing this to bring to light the innocence, the love, the freshness of the baby Jesus. Horace, the child, okay? He was working, and his work as a manifester of the formula, his work was to actually help bring in the new age that followed. So when you ask me, are we in the age of Horus? Well, it depends on if you're a manifester or if you're an adept. So we're pretty smack dab in the middle of the manifesting thing. We're acting like a child. Humanity is acting like a spoiled brat.
Right.
We're throwing sand in each other's eyes in the sandbox. We're being cruel. We're burning ants with a magnifying glass.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. We're still innocent. We're still beautiful. We're still growing. Okay. But in a sense, we are at that crusader stage of the age of Horus as far as the manifestors of the age. At least this is how I'm seeing it, sitting here as a 72-year-old. Oh, 73-year-old person who lies about their age. Okay.
Mr. DuQuette, do you believe in the occultic axiom that love is the law, love under will? I think that was it.
It's self-evident, yes.
Self-evident. Does that have a lot to do with some of the rhetoric that you were just talking about?
Well, the idea that if we truly understood what we were here for, we would understand that we're really not, well, look at it this way. We wouldn't be breathing. We wouldn't be here talking to each other. We wouldn't be living. We wouldn't be born. We wouldn't exist unless we have a function. And that function is something that only we can do. Maybe a big thing, maybe a small thing, it doesn't matter. It's a big thing because it's the only thing that we're here to do. And nobody else can do it. If somebody else could do it, we'd be somebody else. But we're not. We're who we are. We're here to do something. And if there wasn't something left undone that only we can do, then we wouldn't even be having this discussion. And so that one thing that we're here to do is our will. Or we could call it our will. And if we truly understood it, it would be the exact same thing that all of the other mystics of the previous ages called the will of God. Okay. And so this love is the law. The nature of that law isn't sentimentality. It isn't pity or charity or anything like that, although it can manifest in pity and charity and compassion and things like that. the nature of the law, when there's a question between love and will, there shouldn't be. Will wins out, because that's what we're here to do. And so the nature of that is love. And love is a force as real as electricity or gravity or anything else. It's a real live force. If we had machinery fine enough tuned, we could plug ourselves in and find out our degree of love. Okay, love is a real force. It is the fundamental force of nature. And so everything is already conforming and existing and executing its function in the within the context of love. So,
you said that in the context of nature, you mentioned love. I mean, wouldn't it be said that it would be true that only humanity is capable of love? Do the animals, do the fish, do the reptiles, are they capable of love in the same capacity as humans?
The atoms wouldn't hold themselves together.
Nice.
Without love.
It's a real good answer. It's a real good answer.
So yes, we had a cricket in our garage that Constance found, and it would sing to us whenever we'd go to the kitchen. And she found the cricket and started talking to the cricket and going like that, and the cricket had its little antenna. Constance formed a relationship with this cricket, and eventually she set up a little shrine and put up a little Hindu goddess, and she fed the cricket. I forget what it was. She fed it, and there's not a doubt in my mind that cricket existed in a stream of love that Constance was intimately in tune with. So yes, but it reaches right down. I wrote a song called "When You Fall in Love," and when you fall in love, you change everything. Sun, moon, galaxies are created. Your genes are mutated when you fall in love. Molecules hold themselves together with love. Magnetism is an expression of love. Love is so big and so fundamental that even to limit it with a 4-letter word is blasphemy.
Okay.
So, but anyway, of course, I may be wrong.
Right. Would you agree with this particular cultic saying that everything is true in one sense and everything is false in one sense, but everything is permissible? Would you agree or disagree with that statement?
I don't know. Once you break into duality, and there's your true and your untrue right there, you've already fallen so far away from the pristine singularity of consciousness that you could get into a bar fight over it, and everybody would be right and wrong at the same time. Everything is permissible. Okay, sometime.
Mr. DuQuette, what's the last book that you were involved in writing?
What was it? My last book was Allow Me to Introduce, which was a compilation of about 35 years of my introductions to other people's works. The one just before that was called The Son of Chicken Kabbalah.
The Son of Chicken Kabbalah.
It's a damn good book.
And was that also a compilation of your years of research into the Kabbalistic systems?
No.
Magic, or was it just Kabbalah in itself? Or
I wrote a book called The Chicken Kabbalah of Rabbi Lamed Ben Clifford about 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my attempt to wrap my brain around the practical aspects of Hermetic Kabbalah. And to do so, I invented a rabbi, an outrageous, crazy old rabbi. And it's been very popular. And I went to China. I was invited to go to China, as I mentioned earlier.
Mm-hmm.
But I was to go at every season. And I had the same group of students, most of whom were professional healers or mystical kind of people. Truly, I was the biggest putz in the room. Okay. But I was to teach them Kabbalah and the fundamentals of Kabbalah.
Mm.
So now, you got to learn a little Hebrew to have the vocabulary to discuss Kabbalah. Not much. You don't have to speak the language or anything like that. Yeah, but everything is in deals with the Hebrew alphabet as a tool of understanding the mechanics of consciousness. And so I decided that the best way for me to do this in only 4 3-day sessions would be to literally implant the Hebrew alphabet in a systematic way in the consciousness of the students. And so I invented a 3-degree Kabbalistic occult order, just for the purpose of this off-the-wall, temporary, here's a 3-degree occult order, and we're going to join it. And we're going to do it, complete with initiation ceremonies, everything else, that systematically take the Hebrew alphabet, 3 mother letters, 7 double letters, and 12 simple letters in a 3-degree initiatory program where we go through initiations that actually burn into the psyche the meanings, the relevance, the significance of each one of those Hebrew letters. And it was a crazy thing to do, and I'm the laziest guy in the world, and I should have. Oh God! And then the 4th class was sort of, or the 4th series weekend was sort of pulling it all together. And I'm sure you're familiar with the formula of initiation. A well-crafted initiation actually initiates a change of consciousness. Mm-hmm. Each initiation is a mutation in your consciousness. You're a different person at the end of every well-crafted initiation. Well, that's what I did. And so when I came home, while it was still fresh in my mind, I said, I'm gonna put this entire initiatory process into a book of self-initiation. And so that's what Son of Chicken Kabbalah is that 3-degree initiatory program that you can do in your own house. You can lock yourself in your bathroom and do it to yourself. Okay.
What do you think your most brilliant work is, as far as books that you've published? The most in-depth researched book.
The most researched one is the Enochian Vision Magic.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Yeah, that's it's probably tied with understanding Aleister Crowley's Thoth Tarot.
Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of sense. Very, very cool. Where does one buy those books?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
If you've got a local bookstore, even if they charge you $1 more for the book, you can shop for my books. Go to Amazon and see the books that you would like to order. And you can get them from Amazon. They're cheap and everything else, and I get the same amount of money for it, which is hardly anything. But we've got to support our local bookstores, okay? We've got to support them. If you've got one in your neighborhood or in your town, call them up and order the book through them, even if you have to get in your car and drive there to pick it up. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, but it's everywhere. It's at Amazon, Barnes and Noble, even Target, even not Walmart, Kmart, wherever books are sold, that's where.
Mr. DuQuette, in your book, Enochian Vision Magic, a lot of the several transcripts that are taken from a British museum. Does that particular British museum have any transcripts that they wouldn't allow access to, that you weren't able to get your hands on?
Well, it's the British Library, where a lot of it is, and the Ashmolean Museum at Oxford has most of the, between those two, has most of the Enochian material. And no, if you know what you're asking for, they don't give a
That's really cool.
British Library is kind of fun because you have to it's a 3-day thing, so you have to get an apartment or a flat in London nearby so you can walk over every day. First of all, you've got to be registered and have a membership card, and to somehow justify that you're a scholar. Mm-hmm. Okay. And what you're interested in, so they got a lot of information on you, so you just can't go in. They'll get you if you take a crayon and ruin stuff, You got to do that the first day. Then the second day, you go in, once they've cleared you, you go in, and there's a nice computer kind of catalog thing, and you order what you want to look at. And so you got to know what you want to look at, first of all.
Right.
Secondly, you got to find it. So that's Sloan manuscript 3188. Okay. Then you submit that, and then you go to the pub and drink yourself to sleep. And then the next morning, you go again and say, "I'm here to look at the stuff." And there's a guy with a little cart, and he comes driving up with a little cart with your books or your manuscripts or your folios, and they give you a room of your own, a little. It's bigger than a cubicle, but smaller than a room, with a lamp that is kind of a safety bulb of some kind, and
Mr. DuQuette, did you see the original Sigillum DMF?
yes.
You saw the original.
Yeah, oh, you can too. It's right there in the King's Gallery at the British Museum.
Very cool. Very cool.
Every time I go there, I try to jumpstart it. It's right there by the Sigillum's there, plus his mirror.
When you said you tried to jumpstart it, what do you mean by that, Mr. DuQuette?
Well, I kind of move in and get my nose close to the glass,
Mm-hmm.
and then I recite the first call, first
Right.
Pinokian call, and look at my face in the mirror, and then a docent appears
Mm-hmm.
behind me.
Okay.
Nothing to see here. Move along. Move along.
Very interesting. And I'm sure by now they know who you are. When you visit,
What's that?
when you do have access to when you did visit the Sigillum DMF, you said that you recited the first call, the Enochian call, the first one, and that somebody had appeared behind you that would said, "Miss, can you please move along?" I was just
I'm joking.
Oh, you're joking.
Well,
Oh, okay. Okay.
I do the call.
Okay. Very cool.
But it's not really an environment. There's hundreds of people milling around and things like that. It's just that. But anyway, and it's moved around the exhibit, and everybody, the museum's really conscious that it's of interest to a lot of people now.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've got it in a case of its own, along with the golden talisman and 3 of the small wax sigillums that are under the legs of the table,
Mm-hmm.
and a little card with John Dee's stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There's in Washington, D.C., there is a museum called the International Spy Museum.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really cute, and it's got exhibits from Cold War stuff, and it's got but it's got a whole case of John Dee.
Wow.
Of John Dee. Well, they don't have John Dee. They don't have his jockstrap or anything like that. But they've got lots of kind of pictures and drawings, and a big. They treat him as the first international spy, the first James Bond.
Mm-hmm. Well, Mr. DuQuette, we're almost to the end of the hour. But I want to ask you, time does fly. I do want to ask you one more question. You got a lot of younger occultists out there, and that are looking at you like, wow, this is a really cool, old school, hippie dude kind of occultist, man. And they study your books. I've studied your books too, probably 15 years ago. What would be your advice to the new occultist today?
As long as you're passionate about studying this stuff, study it. Don't be afraid to practice stuff. Even if you don't think you understand what you're doing, you'll never think you understand what you're doing. So enjoy it, but most of all, continue to have a life.
So don't let it consume you, in other words.
Well, if being consumed is part of your life, let it do that. But have other things going for you too.
Very cool.
You'll eventually see that absolutely everything you do is magic. And so just don't stop doing stuff.
Mr. DuQuette, thank you so much for being on the Lone Wolf Show. I'm the Lone Wolf. That's Moon Hysteria. This is Lawn Milo DuQuette, and we love you.